Hey everybody, welcome back. This is where we left off, I believe. So let's just check it out.
Safely back beneath the clouds, he said amiably. I think we can find our way ourselves. Calamity had lowered into a fighting stance. He kicked a handle below the bit piece of his saddle, a lever that had not been there before Ten Pony Tower. I heard a clicking inside the battle saddle as the ammo type changed.
Armor piercing.
I was certain he had just swapped in armor-piercing rounds.
Yeah!
Don't shoot them, Velvet Remedy hissed to Calamity. Let us at least try diplomacy first. Well, looky who it is, one of the female Enclave Pegasi called out with a whistle. We got ourselves a Dashite. Not just any Dashite. One of the other metal-clad males spoke up. That's a dead-shot Calamity. Horse apples, I heard Calamity mutter under his breath. The lead Pegasus looked between my friend and the Pegasus who had identified him. You sure? Oh yeah. Winner of the best young sharpshooter competition 4 years running. You don't forget the pony who beat you. Get shot, Calamity whispered, eyes going wide. The leader's compound visor turned towards Calamity, locking him in its glowing fire-colored glare. Well, I'll be. Decorated military officer to murderous traitor. The gems on his battle saddle's antenna-like weapons began to glow a fierce yellow-orange that matched his visor. Sorry, Dragon, but this changes things. Spike didn't seem to think so. Go while I still let you.
Just smash them.
The dragon was growing impatient. You seem to forget who's in charge up here, Dragon, the leader said, still speaking gently. Now we'll be going as a gesture of goodwill, but we'll be taking that criminal here into custody. He pointed a hoof at Calamity. You seem to forget who's tasty and good with ketchup. Hey now, the mayor in sinister black and magically powered armor spoke up again. Look, Dragon, sir, the reward for this one's head is worth a pretty nice pile of gems, far tastier than any pony. Tell you what, let us take him, the reward is yours. Spike paused. Blinked. Gems? Oh no, he wouldn't. Not after everything he just told us about his friends. Especially his friends.
Well, Calamity isn't his friend.
A lot of gems. A lot of gems. Yep.
That's not a number!
His head, as if listening to a voice we couldn't hear. You've tried to barge into my house, and tried to bribe me with gems, asking me to betray one of my guests to you. A guest who you've named after a pony who was not only a good friend of mine, but the bearer of the element of loyalty. Yes? The Enclave mayor didn't seem to like where this was going. I, on the other hoof, felt a sense of relief. I permitted myself to crack a smile. Spike reached forward with one claw, dropped it onto her back, pinning her against the floor.
Yeah.
He leaned very, very close to the mare, then used another claw to lift up her visor so they were staring at each other, eye to eye. Spike snorted a gout of flame into the magical armor through the open visor, setting the Enclave mare on fire inside of her enclosed suit.
Oh, that is...
She
I
screamed
love
and
that.
thrashed for an unbearably long second or two before perishing. Smoke curled out of the seams in the insectoid metal carapace. I heard Calamity bite back a strangled sound as I gagged from the smell. I didn't think I'd be eating cooked meat for a long time.
No.
Goddesses.
Okay, that's kind of bullshit people say, but they never carry through with it. Like, you know you love that bacon too much, little Pip.
Moaned Velvet Remedy. Spike raised his claw again. The other Enclave Pegasi fled into the night. Well, this is going to be trouble. We should stay. We should help. I ain't exactly gung-ho to start shooting at folk who could have been my kin, but I'll do what it takes to make this right. Spike shook his head. No, it'll be better if none of you are here when they return. Once they see that their prize is gone, they'll have less reason to press the matter. I looked at Spike worriedly. What if they look deeper? I won't give them that option. Steelhooves, now standing in the mouth of the cave, suggested, if there's something here you don't want them looking at, then we'd best make sure the Pegasi know we are somewhere else. He turned to Calamity. We should stay above the clouds for a bit. Calamity nodded. Get ourselves seen somewhere that ain't here. He looked up to me. What you say? Head back towards New Appaloosa, drop down and make a turn towards Junction R7 after we've been spotted?
Seems
It
reasonable.
would give us a chance to lighten our load, Velvet Remedy asked
Aren't you guys, like,
approvingly.
not allowed in New
Get Calamity's
Appaloosa?
workbench set up.
Oh, but Ditchy Deal will come out.
I
Okay, yeah.
nodded. It was agreed. We would draw the Pegasi's attention away from Spike's cave. I just hoped they didn't start shooting at us. Although, if we did go up in an explosive blaze of glory, it might very well be worth it to keep the gardens of Equestria safe.
Oh, my.
Before we go, Velvet Remedy said to Spike, I did have one question you might be able to answer. My heart skipped a beat. Please, I begged silently, don't let it be about Fluttershy. Sure, Spike said amiably. What are those towers? Velvet asked, much to my relief. The tall, slender, white ones.
Well,
As
wait.
we were flying here, I saw several of them. They're the only things I've seen as tall as this mountain, and they're definitely pony-made. They were for the Single Pony Project, Spike answered, speaking simultaneously with Calamity. Them's the Sustainable Pegasi Project, Calamity had stated. Spike and Calamity looked at each other. Okie dokie Loki. The Single Pony Project? I asked. Calamity looked a touch hurt that I didn't turn to his expertise first. You mentioned that before. What was the project for? Spike opened his mouth, then paused. The dragon raised a claw, then stopped. Finally, he admitted. I actually have no idea. I spent all of my time with Twilight. I really don't know what the other ministries were up to. All I know is that it was called the Single Pony Project.
Okay, so at Twilight, he spent all his time with Twilight. He knows what Twilight knows. That means Twilight doesn't know what this is. That paints a picture that the ministries weren't working together. Like they weren't sharing information with each other, and that's kind of a problem. Like when the I'm just remembering this old History Channel thing about World War II and the organizations of both the Allies and the Axis. About why the Axis lost because their organization was shit. It was using Sun Tzu's stuff. You know how a clear and good oh wow, the words are failing me right now. You can see I just got up, just took a shower. It's still early for me. It showed like both graphs of the Allies' internal organization and the Axis. Like I'm getting like Axis organization. Like not everyone knows what everyone's doing. Like these guys report to these guys that report to the Fuhrer, but these guys report to them, and these guys report to him, who reports to that guy, who reports to the Fuhrer, and that it was a mess. And that's kind of the feeling I get here. Like the whole organization was a mess, which makes sense because, like they mentioned, Equestria didn't have a lot of wars, and if they did, I have the feeling they were very limited fighting type of wars. You know, like limited ones. Where we've been mastering warfare for like 11,000 years straight, so we know the value of a clear and efficient organizational thing. This was their first industrial war ever. This was their first major war ever, probably. It feels like it. So they don't know or have the experience in making good, efficient organizations, and this was a fucking mess. That's what the fact that it's Twilight, leader of the Ministry of Technology and Arcane Science, who doesn't know what this clearly technological things are, and has no idea what they're even meant to be other than a vague name, sort of implies that the organization between the ministries was a mess. There was no communication. There was nothing. Oh god, if this is what the good guys were like, what the fuck were the zebras doing?
That it was Rainbow Dash's idea, and that it was pretty much the only thing the Ministry of Awesome did. Only official thing, Steelhooves interjected. I turned to Calamity now.
Unofficially?
Sustainable Pegasi Project? Well, I can't say for sure it weren't the Single Pony Project at some point. Calamity chewed on what the dragon had just said. I was told otherwise, but it ain't like I got no reason to doubt anything just 'cause the Great Pegasus Enclave declares it to be true. Velvet Remedy looked particularly pained at this spectacular mangling of proper grammar. And, if and it were Rainbow Dash that came up with it, then I really doubt she would have meant for those towers to be used for what they're used for calling them now. Because right now, they're being used to help keep the Pegasus ponies isolated from the rest of y'all. How so?
Monolithic
Calamity
cloud
turned
cover?
to Velvet Remedy. Remember when you asked me about what we ate up there, and I joked about cloud seeding? Velvet Remedy nodded. I recall that I was going to demand a proper answer later. Yeah, well, now you're gonna get it, Calamity said. I don't know what them towers was originally meant to do, but I know what the Enclave has repurposed them to do, and that's to enchant the clouds for miles around them so we can grow crops right up to the sky. I let out a whistle at that. From somewhere outside, Firelight whistled back. Made sense. No matter what the single pony project had been meant to be, towers were now being used to suit the purposes of the surviving ponies. The Pegasus ponies were using them above for agriculture above. Homage was using...
That's actually fucking ingenious. Like, they probably got lots of fresh, non-irradiated food. And the fact that it's been taken over by it's the Enclave. We know they're evil. So I'm just going to say it. The fucking Enclave. It's just the Enclave. Just the fucking Enclave. Kind of pisses me off. Like, I'm not against things like absolute monarchies or dictatorships. They tend to turn out bad, but I'm not against the government type on principle. You know, we discussed this earlier. Maybe in this series or maybe another series. I don't know. Like, I have so much ongoing shit. I have so many Let's Watches. I got Stardew Valley and Valhalla and all this stuff. So it's kind of an easy to lose track of when I talk about things. I think it was this one, though. There's nothing inherently wrong with things like dictatorships or monarchies. Yeah, they can go wrong, but there's nothing inherently wrong with the government. The fact that it's the Enclave, though, you know they're evil. We know they're evil, and that kind of pisses me off that the evil guy gets all the good food. Like, you know how much they could help the wasteland if, like, not even a good guy, just a neutral dude takes over? Oh, my nose, why? Like, fresh water, pure water alone is probably like one of the most important things in the wasteland. Pure food and water, because they gotta have pure water. Like, they could just take over through trade, like economic warfare. The Enclave could just take over Equestria. It'll be easy. And I have so many thoughts going through my head about pure water and food that the Enclave has. And I have a weird I have a weird feeling Lil Pip's going to end up destroying it, and I will be sad. Because that's a big loss. Like, how do they do it? Like, water goes down to the earth, and it gets irradiated. Somehow, like radiation in the air, the earth, the other water sources, radiation. Precipitation happens. It turns back into air and goes up and becomes cloud. So shouldn't there be a recycling radiation? Like, shouldn't those clouds actually be a bit radioactive? Do they have water purification talismans? Do they take unicorns from smart ones from the bottom and take them up top? You know, with cloud walking, do they make more water purification? How's this work? Is there, like, are they just relying on pre-war water purification tablets? Because those things can degrade. They can degrade. We've seen that. It is magical radiation, so perhaps it doesn't go that high? Maybe clouds are balefire led to balefire. We're gonna learn more. Fuck it.
Then below should broadcast DJ Pony's music and messages across the wasteland, bringing you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. And Red Eye was using one for Goddesses Knew What. My thoughts drifted to Homage.
Did we skip someplace?
I hadn't told Homage about Steelhoof's deception. He'd used DJ Pony's radio broadcast to spread his lie about Chief Grimstar. I had to wonder how...
Did we...
Somebody turned to Velvet Remedy. Remember when you asked me about what we ate up there, and I joked about cloud seeding? Velvet Remedy nodded. I recall that I was going to demand a proper answer later. Yeah, well, now you're gonna get it, Calamity said. I don't know what them towers was originally meant to do, but I know what the Enclave has repurposed them to do, and that's to enchant the clouds for miles around them so we can grow crops right up to the sky. I let out a whistle at that. From somewhere outside, Firelight whistled back. Made sense. No matter what the single pony project had been meant to be, towers were now being used to suit the purposes of the surviving ponies. The Pegasus ponies were using them above for agriculture above. Homage was using them below to broadcast DJ Pony's music and messages across the wasteland, bringing you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. And Red Eye was using one for Goddesses knew what.
Being
My
an
thoughts
ass?
drifted to Homage. I hadn't told Homage about Steelhoof's deception. He'd used DJ Pony's radio broadcast to spread his lie about Chief Grimstar. I had to wonder how some pony like Steelhoof managed to find himself in a romantic relationship with the mayor of the element of honesty. I expected that Homage would be personally offended. I didn't want to be the bearer of the message that caused her pain. But I didn't keep my mouth shut just because I didn't want to see her upset. She might feel provoked to air what I told her, even though I could offer no evidence to back it up. Yet what good would that serve? More likely, I suspected she would choose not to air it. Like my struggles with addiction, or her real identity, sometimes secrets had their place. Homage understood that.
Yes.
That wonderful unicorn had more personal integrity than any pony I'd ever met, and I couldn't bear to put her in a morally uncomfortable position. Especially not after Monterey Jack.
Look, Monterey Jack was an idiot. You know, we said this, and I keep feeling the need to bring up. Monterey Jack was in no way the fucking element of honesty. Honesty is more than just telling the truth. It's integrity. Homage might be the element of honesty. Let's be honest here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lil Pip is the element of friendship. Because look, she's got the party together. She's got fucking Steelhooves, Velvet, Calamity, Homage. Like, yeah. Like, again, it's not Spike's fucking place to say who is or is not. And we gotta finish this, because otherwise I'm never going to get through this chapter. I'll just shut up.
I was brought out of my reverie by a jab from Velvet Remedy's hoof. Still with us, Little Pip? I nodded. The others were already gathering back at the Sky Bandit. It was time to go. We wanted to be moving before the Pegasus Enclave returned. I trotted to the mouth of the cave, then looked back towards Spike. I guess this is it then. Watcher had helped me. Without him, I might never have survived. He helped give me purpose, a goal, and ultimately, friendship. But now, it was clear that we were not the ponies he was looking for, and he needed to focus his attention elsewhere. Spike nodded. I'll keep an eye open for you. We may talk again, but yes, this is it.
It really just fucking gets me.
Thank you, Spike. Thank you, Little Pip.
I know this was Season 1, Season 2.
turned
We
and
didn't
walked out
really
of the
know
cave.
that much. But
I was about to step
God
into the Sky
damn.
Bandit when I was hit by an epiphany. Turning, I galloped back to the cave. Honestly, it was about more than just telling the truth. It was about integrity. Spike!
Woo!
I cried out. I know one of the other ponies you're looking for. 2 black carapaced Pegasi were still hot on our trails as we broke beneath the cloud curtain. Ha! Shouted Calamity, wings flapping hard as he hauled the Sky Bandit through the air at breakneck speed. Told you they wouldn't follow us below the clouds. Cowards. Velvet Remedy was looking at the 2 demonic silhouettes behind us, her hair whipping across her face. They're still following us. What? Calamity glanced over his shoulder. Oh, horse apples. Somehow he managed to pour on even more speed. We were pulling ahead. I saw the gemstones of the Enclave battle saddles flare, and bolts of colored light shot past us. Thankfully, neither of these Pegasi had Calamity's aim. Calamity, could you kindly lose these ponies?
Oh, just shoot
Velvet
them.
asked with an almost seductive smoothness. I'd really hate to get blown up today. 2 more blasts of magical energy shot past us, one actually passing through one of the shattered windows of the passenger wagon and out the other, barely missing Firelight. The magical bird squawked and hid behind Velvet, who cooed at her comfortingly. Wow, Steelhooves commented dryly. They really like you, don't they?
Yeah, it'd be sure.
Y'all can shut it now.
It'd be sure good to have a AA gun right about now, little Pip. I mean, I'm not saying you did wrong. I mean, you used that favor wonderfully for those little kids. Great going. But I'm just thinking like having an AA gun mounted on top of the battle bus would be swell.
Calamity barked at us. And hold on. I wrapped my forelegs around one of the poles between the wagon's bench seats. Velvet Remedy clamped down on one of the bits that dangled from the ceiling. From her expression, she immediately regretted it. I could only imagine the taste. Steelhooves braced himself between benches. A moment later, Calamity took the Sky Bandit into a steep dive. Pyrelite bounced off the wagon's ceiling. She scrambled to bite down on Velvet Remedy's wind-thrashed mane before the wind threw her out the back window of the wagon. Bolts of colored light shot all around us. I think I screamed. The Enclave Pegasi broke off their pursuit about halfway to the ground. My legs were still shaking, my hooves thankfully planted on firm ground. I watched as Velvet Remedy bartered with Ditzy-Doo outside the front gate of New Appaloosa, trading for spark batteries to replace the nearly drained ones in the Sky Bandit. We weren't allowed further, but the Ghoul Pegasus was more than happy to come out and greet us. For a moment, I didn't recognize the lavender filly who shyly followed behind her. My eyes widened as I realized it was Silverbell, no longer painted in pink. She seemed better. Being with Ditzy-Doo was good for her.
Being with
Silverbell
Ditzy-Doo is good for
recognizing
everybody.
Velvet Remedy. She froze in her tracks. "Hello, Silverbell," Velvet Remedy said gently. "You're looking beautiful this morning." Silverbell looked at everything but at Velvet Remedy. "I have someone you might like to meet," Velvet continued, her voice warm and accepting. "Pyrelite, come out and meet Silverbell." The little filly's eyes went wide at the sight of the majestic balefire phoenix. The emerald and gold creature landed next to her and cooed a friendly hello.
This is a Bellfire Phoenix, and what we've seen of Phoenixes kind of imply they're on fire. Isn't that thing just radiating radiation? Like leaking it everywhere? Or is that only when it's reborn?
The effect on Silverbell was dramatic. It was as if Pyrelite was truly the first beautiful thing the girl had ever seen.
Oh.
Calamity walked up next to me. "Call me crazy, but after we go, I half expect that filly to spend the next few days trying to make Appaloosa about as pretty as that bird." I could so picture that. I looked up at Calamity. The rust-colored Pegasus with the orange mane and black Desperado hat was probably the closest friend I had. Not counting Homage, who was all manner of closer, but much more than a friend. "I know what you're thinking," Calamity stated. "Don't you believe him? The Enclave has vested interest in making any pony who bucks their ideals into a monster." "I believe you," I told him sincerely. I regularly put my life and the lives of those I loved in Calamity's care. I absolutely trusted him with this one, too.
You'd be kind of a fool
But,
if you didn't.
Calamity, if you're running from something, perhaps we can help. Calamity laughed. "Little Pip, you should know me well enough by now to know that running away from things ain't my way." My friend turned his head towards the ever-present cloud cover.
I still can't believe I called it. I fucking called it with the element of honesty. Like, holy shit. That was... Damn.
I flew towards something. They just didn't want to let me go. "Nice place you got here," Steelhoof said as he looked around Junction R7. I couldn't be sure if he was being sarcastic or speaking truthfully. Home sweet train wreck.
Well, it's the wasteland, so it probably seemed worse.
Steelhooves eyed the turret defenses, then looked up at the tri-barreled magical energy cannon mounted on the roof of the train's incongruous engine.
I'm surprised no one stole that yet.
Oh, now that is a beauty. I could hear Calamity setting up his workshop. I looked around, but could not see where Velvet Remedy had wandered off to. Hopefully she was getting some sleep. I knew I needed some. Our next stop was going to be Philadelphia. I didn't know if we would actually find Red Eye there, but everything I had learned said that all of his slave operations were centered in that foul place. It was time to start putting some things right. Spike's words rang in my head. "I know that as you travel, as you poke your nose into places and memories, you're going to hear and learn things about my Twy. I had sworn I would remember, as he called it, the real heart of Twilight Sparkle. I couldn't imagine forgetting, now that I had seen it for myself. The sight of that Crusader mainframe, surrounded by the elements of harmony, sitting and waiting.
The problem is, I'm kind of like Stannis Baratheon in the fact that one right, no matter how grand of a right it is, does not undo the wrong. Yeah, I've already mentioned all the problems I have with Gardens of Equestria as a plan. It's not a good one. The fact is, if Twilight's done some raw shit, I don't care what her master plan is. Ends do not always justify... Or ends, yeah, I fucked that up. The wrongs... The end... Oh my... You get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, wrong... Oh, I've actually forgotten the saying. It's been so long since I used it, I forgot the saying. Oh, wow, this is going on the internet, too. It'll be on there forever. The ends do not justify the means. Not always. Like, we haven't seen Twilight do some raw shit, but I have a feeling she might be the master. And if so, she could go fuck herself. Because, like, you've seen the master, and the master, he's a genocidal madman who should just die. And if Twilight's become that, I don't care what her end goal was. She could go fuck off. Like, Spike, I understand. Spike's like, he's conflict of interest. Like, respect her for... All I'm saying that if Twilight's done some raw shit, I don't care what her end plan was.
Year after year, decade after decade, for the chosen ponies to put right things that were far beyond my ability to effect. I would say collecting dust, but they hadn't been dusty. Spike, I realized, had been dutifully tending to the elements of harmony and the mainframe. How hard would it be to remember if I had nothing like that sight to cling to? Right now, I had another private moment with Steelhooves. I should make the best of it. I wanted to ask him about Applejack, but I didn't think we were ready for that conversation quite yet. I felt I would be prying into some place I hadn't earned the right to go. But I had other friends, including one I was worried was heading towards a shattering reality crash. I had no idea what to do for her.
Tell
I
the
felt that
truth.
knowing as much as I could before Hoof would give me the best chance to at least help her recover if I couldn't protect her from the tragic discovery. Steelhooves, what happened to Fluttershy? The Steel Ranger stopped in mid-trot and turned his visor towards me. Depends on who you ask, he answered cryptically. No pony knows? I asked, having really hoped for a more definitive answer than that. Preferably one that I could mine for a little hope. Steelhooves shook his head.
Make your own hope.
Keep in mind, it's really hard to pin down what exactly happened to any particular pony. Skeletons don't come with name tags. And there were millions of ponies for whom the megaspells didn't even leave that. Some places like Splendid Valley and the Canterlot Ruins are still far too dangerous for proper expeditions. It's rare that you can say for certain what happened, even to a loved one. Oh dear. I nodded slowly. That said, most ponies, well, those who ever think of or even know about Fluttershy beyond the Ministry of Peace posters, believe that she was so devastated by what had happened to Equestria and to the world because of her efforts to force peace that she plotted into one of the really bad places.
That's the problem. You can't force peace. That breeds resentment. So even if it worked, there'd still be resentment building up, and it'll probably just blow over into something even worse. Well, okay, maybe not worse than this, but it'd be bad.
And let nature tear her apart. Let Equestria do to her what she had done to it. I cringed. This wasn't what I had hoped for. There are other tales. Some claim she leapt to her death from the top of the Ministry of Peace in the Canterlot Ruins. Wasn't she a Pegasus? Steelhooves nickered. Yes, but then just being outside in Canterlot would have been a death sentence enough. I looked at the ground. It just kept getting worse.
Yeah.
And then there are ponies who say she wandered into the Everfree Forest and became a tree. Wait, what?
Ha!
I demanded, jaw on the ground. How could that even happen? Steelhooves gave a shrug. Don't ask me. I've always been in the Fluttershy committed suicide camp myself. He snorted. Still, Everfree is a bizarre and twisted place. It became vastly more warped and deadly after the apocalypse. Although Luna knows why. It wasn't even hit. The Steel Ranger turned away.
The Everfree is the soul of Equestria.
Fluttershy lived through the apocalypse. Long enough, at least, for the full horror of it all. The death of innumerable ponies and animals. The poisoning and disfiguring of the land itself. To be ground into her soul. I collapsed on my haunches, feeling heartsick. This is the Equestrian wasteland. It's nothing if not cruel. Well, this was a bust. Spike's asleep. I could wake him, but why would I do that to the poor guy? To wake up to all of this. Better to let him sleep. Have good dreams for just a little while longer. Hey, dragons can sleep for up to hundreds of years, right? Maybe Spike will get lucky and not wake up till Equestria's had time to heal. Although I don't know if 100 years is going to be enough. Seeing the sun like this, I can almost believe it never happened. Clouds hide the view below. I'm beginning to think that's the idea. They call me a traitor now. Me! After all I did for them. They turned their backs on Equestria, and they have the nerve to call me a traitor. They've even hired a mercenary now to hunt me down. Bring them back my head. Neck need not be attached, of course. She's good. The best. I'm better. And she knows it. A second voice sounded on the audio recording, gruffer than the mayor's. Sure, which leaves a gal to wonder why you're just sitting up here and letting me find you. Hello, Gilda. The mayor's voice replied, sounding tired. Sorry it had to end this way, Dash. No. No, you're not. Not really. Nah. Not really. Gilda, can I make one request? What? Can we sing it one more time? Huh? Sing... Oh, you can't be serious. Just once? The second voice let out a long, suffering sigh. Why? Because just for a moment, I want to remember an earlier, happier time. A time when the world didn't suck. Fine. Only for you, Dash. The voice paused. One final time. But after that, you know I'm gonna kill you. You can try. The two voices blended in odd harmony. Junior speedsters are our lives, skybound soars and dare. The audio recording abruptly cut off. The machine had reached its limit.
So let me pause this. Come on. And
Industry.
Pause!
Spike had said he didn't understand the Earth Pony way until he had seen Philadelphia.
Oh God!
Even now, with the ruins of the city looming on the edge of the horizon, I began to understand why.
Stop!
Industry had been the secret heart of Equestria since long before the war. How could you have pony-pulled trains without steel mills creating metal for the rails?
Oh my God! It didn't want to stop! I had to exit out, like, oh God, that was horrible. Like, yeah, I don't think Gilda won. Because, were they below the cloud cover? I mean, it's possible the thing fell, but it might have shattered if that happened. I don't think Gilda won that fight. It's left ambiguous, I know that. But, dude needs fucking line breaks. Okay? Like, goddamn, get some line breaks. Announce them. Put them on the screen. I don't care. But if K-Cat hadn't told me about that coming up, I would have been freaked out. Whatever. Point, good chapter. Spike's execution of that Enclave scout was fucking awesome. Like, fucking cool. That was so mean. Oh, wow. We'll continue this on the next chapter. What are your thoughts on the whole Enclave situation? And, goddamn, this is like all the fucking games in one, except Fallout 4. But it could still go that way. Lil Pip has a base, it has guns, it has a cannon. All she gotta do is get some ponies together, get some settlements. It could be Fallout 4. It's not we can have all the games fused into one. It'll be glorious.